Walk, walk. There are so many things going on around. You must take heed. It's been written and prophesied about, so you must believe. Not everything that glitters is gold. Pay attention as it's been told. Join us every Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, with Brother Yusuf as he tackles and breaks down current events, current news, and politics, and the Islamic Ummah. Please join us, streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnah followers.
Join us this Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for a special Q&A session with Brother Yusuf Zucovsky. Don't miss out on this opportunity to get your questions answered and to discuss important issues affecting our Ummah. Hope to see you there. Ina alhamdulillah, wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. I'd like to welcome everybody to our weekly show with Brother Yusuf Zucovsky. This program is so important, guys. Like I was telling you yesterday, all of the lectures and classes here at Sunnah Followers, they connect together. They go hand in hand. What's happening in the world, we have to understand the lordship of Allah. Everything that's happening, good and evil, it comes from Allah. As Allah says, whatever bad befalls us is because of what we brought on ourselves. And if you look at what's happening around the world, look at the politics, the news, and how it's impacting us as a nation. You wouldn't sit around wondering why is Allah sending this war? Why is Allah sending fire? Why are the Muslim lands, and the Muslims here in America that live in certain parts of America faced with calamities, knowing what's going on in the world and our reaction to it and how we are contributing to it. That will help us to come to terms with accepting that Allah is in control, that perhaps we have brought this on ourselves. Because remember, whenever we deviate away from Islam and its truthfulness, there will be repercussions. And this media has caused many of us to deviate away from Islam and its truthfulness. So it's very important that you guys pay attention to this class, because this class, this series, this lecture with Brother Yusuf will open up your minds and let you see that Allah is indeed just, and Allah is indeed the all-knowing. And hopefully, since Ramadan's around the corner, you can take what's happening in the world and say, I'm going to make that change. I'm going to change the condition of myself. And I'm going to make dua, that the rest of us do the same. And perhaps then, life will get better for us all. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Brother Yusuf. And again, he's going to start us off, guys, with the news. What happened this week? What happened this week in the news and how it impacts us as an Ummah? And then any questions you guys have about anything that's going on in the world that's impacting us as a nation, you can write them down and then ask him afterwards. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Brother Yusuf.
I did a video when I was in the masjid at that time with Sheikh Ibrahim Jamali. And I had talked about basically the one message that they don't want us to talk about when it comes to these things. Is obviously we can't get rifles or muskets like the old days and go defend our brothers and sisters. It's just not possible. It's not feasible for us to do so. That we had to use our dollars and our economic power and muscle, to really bankrupt this system and anyone who's a part of it. And you saw a lot of this catching on, and I heard stories of people throughout the Gulf where people were walking around, oh, we're boycotting all American products. And that's, of course, wrong, too, because not every American company is contributing to this. But I named in that lecture several companies that were known contributors. And one of them was Starbucks. And now we're seeing 500 more locations are opening up across the Gulf. So what is that telling me? Starbucks is not going to go out there and build 500 locations unless they have a reason to. They have teams of guys that study the market, that study the trends. They have focus groups. They have all this stuff that these billion-dollar companies, all these resources that they can bring together when they make these expansion determinations. And they felt that 500 was adequate. So I always see Muslims around invoking Allah, praying to Allah, praying for this dua or that dua to relieve the brothers and sisters' struggles there, to change the world. But yet, at the same time, these people are so weak and so pathetic that they can't even live without overpriced, poisonous, in most cases, products made by these corporations that are funding our own destruction. It's like you see the same thing all the time here in America. When we find out all the time all these different fast food companies are funding all these different LGBTQ and liberal agendas and anti-First Amendment stuff, anti-guns, and then you have all the people, and about a week later, they're right back to consuming the stuff again. This is Muslim 2.0. This is 100%. It's so bad what's going on over there, but don't mess with my Coca-Cola. Don't mess with my Starbucks. Don't mess with my McDonald's. I don't care if those companies are contributing to Israel. I don't care, basically, if any of these things. I'm not going to live without my vice. And then they have the nerve to come out and invoke Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to change the condition. And as Sister Layla said, we can't expect Allah to come down here like a UPS man or a DHL man and deliver the package. We have to do our part. We have to clean our own house, and then we trust in Allah. And once we change the condition of ourselves and collectively, you are going to find basically tremendous change, will come, but we're just not ready. We're just not at that point. And as the graphic up there says, 500 more stores, are coming. They already been had them in Mecca. They had the fish goddess removed from Mecca to make it halal, but it was already there. And then we see, in response to a lot of the boycott talks over this guy's actually been at it for quite some time. This is going again to the 2.0 discussion that we had last week specifically, where we were talking about the agents and the enablers and all the different types of signs of them. Well, you can't find someone who really fits those signs more than who we're going to talk about now. You have this gentleman that goes by the name of Faris al-Hamadi. Now, most people probably in the West won't necessarily know who he is unless you really keep up, with Islamic apologetics and Islamic dawah efforts and stuff around the world. He's a prominent scholar from the United Arab Emirates. Needless to say, that's almost all you have to say right there. No one who comes from any of these countries at this point anymore can have really an ounce of credibility left. Because if you're ever even given a platform over there, you have to be controlled. No ifs, ands, or buts. You will be silenced in 2 seconds, put in jail or worse, if you dare to speak out. But he was, again, doing his shtick that he's been doing for the past year and a half, where he was making fun, calling it the religion of boycotts, going through different things. He's been very pro-Israel and about increasing the relations between the Gulf states and Israel, the normalization, all the big Abrahamic stuff that's going on there that we've talked about over the past, few months here. So one of the examples that he was using, which was really, really disgusting, and sometimes people say something that's just so bad, you're just like, am I really hearing what I'm hearing? But he had talked about before about, you shouldn't boycott these brands in the Gulf because you're actually hurting Muslims who own these businesses. Now, this is just bottom of the barrel in terms of pathetic, in my opinion. So let's phrase this in a way that just brings how absurd this statement is. So if you have a Muslim over there who is marketing Coca-Cola, go do the research on what Coca-Cola does to the body, how much it raises your chance of diabetes, how much it destroys your kidneys, how much basically it causes all kinds of behavioral problems. It's 48 grams of sugar in a 12-ounce can. It's loaded with additives and artificial ingredients. It by no means is good for your body. But because a Muslim is selling it, we should buy it, right? That's basically what he's saying. If there's a Muslim who's willing to put his pockets over the health and well-being of his nation, we shouldn't boycott him. We should support him. If a Muslim owns a bar, we should support it then by that logic. If a Muslim owns a nightclub where it's encouraging zina, we should support it. We shouldn't boycott him. If a Muslim owns, God forbid, a bar that has nudity, should we also support that because it's a Muslim who owns it? I mean, this type of logic was just, again, like I said, absolutely pathetic. It's scraping the bottom of the barrel here, trying to make it seem like this is some kind of a moral crusade, to use a Christian term there, that we should all just, yeah, Muslim owns Coke. We have to buy it. We have to go to Starbucks. A Muslim owns it. I mean, this is just, again, no words to say on that. And there was another one by this guy, and this was one of my signs I pointed to last week. They will always go to obey the ruler without fail. They will pull this one out and they will throw it out there. And no one more than this guy really kind of embodies this. Just follow the ruler, no matter what. And he was using this, of course, for the Palestine situation, as he's done from the very beginning, stating that they know more than we do. And it's their best judgment. We should always know that when the ruler makes the decision, he's the one that can determine whether it's beneficial or not. So again, I'd like to ask Mr. Ferris, so a female performer singing in Saudi Arabia about her sexual organs being goddesses, is that something that's beneficial? The ruler apparently said so. He sanctioned it. He allowed them. They cut the checks to bring such performers in. So that ruler has made that determination then that that behavior is beneficial to us. So by his logic, just blindly again follow the ruler. Telltale sign, 100%. When you hear that opinion, you know this person is controlled because this is not Islamic. And what those leaders over there are doing, as we talked about last week and the previous weeks, is not Islamic. The amount of filth that the Saudi Entertainment Authority has brought into their country in the last year alone, right around the times of very, memorable, or not memorable, but relevant is the word I'm looking for, Islamic festivities or celebrations, such as Hajj, such as the Eids. They have these celebrations, going on over there. And they're doing the most horrible things, So again, boycotts angers them. Disobeying the rulers or not blindly following the rulers, it angers them. That's why they talk about it so much. They're telling you, please, please don't do this. They're trying to use every type of third grade logic and psychology to try to get you not to boycott because they fear you boycotting, because there's billions of us. We control tens of billions of dollars in our pockets, and how we spend it is one thing we still have left of freedom in this world. They don't want us doing this. So they're going to go out of their way and send all their henchmen. You saw all these other supposed Muslim social media influencers coming out and defending this man, just like they defended Andrew Tate, just like they defended Sneeko. They're defending this guy, as well. They don't want this. They know this is their worst nightmare, is when we stop spending our money on companies who are doing us harm, actively doing us harm, whether it's in Palestine, whether it's morally, spiritually, and so on. So I wanted to open up a bit talking about that. And yeah, you can see again here. I mean, it just gets worse and worse. I mean, we're going to talk some more about what Saudi Arabia is doing in the close of the news section here as well. So also, I mean, there's many reasons. My next point, to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the gift of life every day. But Allah knows us better than we know ourselves. And he knows one thing that I love is, being vindicated. I really, truly love when I'm telling someone something, I'm putting myself live like this. And I put a lot out there into the videos that hope people can get something from them. And then the week later, Allah will give something in the news that makes me feel vindicated. And I really want to thank Allah for that. So we were talking last week also about the female infiltration that we see in social media and how they are using sexuality to steer away people. They're hearkening themselves on morality and all these other things to guide their listeners astray. So we had something this week that broke about Saturday to Sunday. It's not related to Muslim, but it's related to what we were talking about last week with the social media influencers who are doing it to our Ummah. We have this lady that goes by the name of Ashley St. Clair. She was a conservative woman who basically was similar to what I was talking about the women doing with Islam last week. She talked about traditional marriage and families. She understood basically there's a gap in Western society now. People are begging for something that resembles normalcy. Normalcy's been taken away, from this society. So she, like all these other female grifters, was marketing herself to do that. Well, she had a love child, with Elon Musk. Elon Musk, obviously, and I think he's got 14 of them now. I may be wrong, don't quote me on that, but it's some double-digit number of illegitimate children. Now, this man, he's also campaigning on traditional family, traditional values, and yet he's continuing to have zina out of wedlock as well. Now, this woman is coming out, and everything she pretty much said about her life and what she's marketing is one big lie. She uses video editing, filters, makeup to alter her appearance as much as possible. As you can see there in the picture, she doesn't look like this at all. When you take away the filters, you take away the makeup, all the different things that she's doing to make herself look as beautiful as possible. She would do several tweets condemning women for sleeping with men to reach the top. She had done this about Kamala Harris and others. And now we find that she's doing exactly the same thing. Adultery, children out of wedlock, sleeping with a man who is as wretched, ugly, and just horrible as this man here. There's no endearing qualities, about this individual, things that he's a part of, but it didn't matter, in the end of the day. There's also a lot of signs pointing to her connection with Israeli intelligence. She is a Jew. She does have those connections we've talked about in here before at length. So part of the network, if you will. So I often, those of you who are familiar with my work, I focus a lot on liberals and the liberal message because it's something that's so prominent now in our society. But these so-called conservatives are just as wretched in private as the liberals are openly. They just go out and they sell something completely different to grift, to make money off their fan base. There are reports, anytime they have these conservative conventions, we see every single time, without fail, the gay app Grindr will actually shut down in these cities because there's too much traffic on the app. They had a conservative convention back when Donald Trump was running. I think it was up there, it's in the Midwest, North Midwest. I can't remember if it's Detroit or Chicago, one of those two major cities up there. And the app shut down again. Again, you're seeing the same type of behavior that they're condemning the liberals for. They fundraise off, we're going to stand for the Bible. We're going to stand for traditional values. And then you look exactly how they're, being in their private, personal lives. Same thing I talked about last week, highlighting how our leadership and all these people are phony in the Islamic hemisphere. You're seeing the exact same thing in this political sphere as well. We also had this famous conservative blogger, Candace Owens. She ripped into Islam, saying that Islam is not compatible with the West. Now, this woman popped up out of nowhere. That's, again, one of my signs last week that we pointed to. You never heard of them. And then all of a sudden, they're everywhere. They've got millions of followers, their platform everywhere. This woman's husband, along with her, are also friends and defenders of Andrew Tate. We're tying it all in, as we will continue to do. So how are you sitting here, this woman, saying Islam is evil, it's a horrible religion, it's violent, it's not compatible with the West, but your husband is friends with a man who is supposedly a Muslim? Just simply does not make any sense, unless, of course, you know that this is all a game. This is all a grift. It was all a way to make money. All along, none of these people believe what they say. Andrew Tate's no more of a Muslim than George W. Bush, was. And now we're seeing, even with Andrew Tate, it seems like his Islamic mission is finally closed. How many youths before he closed this mission did he lead down the wrong path? Because he never even mentions anymore that he is a Muslim man or he's proud to be Muslim. You used to hear this countless times from him. Almost every talk that he gave, he would say, well, I'm a Muslim. I'm a practicing Muslim. Now you never see things about him anymore. But what you do see is the Trump administration now putting pressure on the government in Romania to release this man for his crimes. So he will shill Trump constantly now, Elon Musk. He's now being promoted as a champion of conservative beliefs. They just move these people around. You know, he's the Muslim guy now. Everyone should follow him. All of a sudden, he's not Muslim anymore. Now he's this big conservative Donald Trump guy. He was going to run for political office. I had told everybody a month ago in my talk on him that the party had never been registered. It was all a grift. Sure enough, he's admitted that now. He ripped his followers off on crypto. And we still have Muslim youth following this man. It just whenever is enough. So, you know, again, he's now traditional Christian conservative beliefs, and you'll have Christians and conservatives heralding him as a champion of free speech, much like the Muslim community a year ago heralded him as Islamic masculinity. He is the embodiment, again, just like he was to Islam, he's the embodiment of everything opposite of Christianity, of traditional Christianity, what the books say, not what people obviously are doing. But he's really truly a representative of modern society. In every way, he is a creation of this modern world. He was created, presented, agent all the way, 100%, to lead people astray. He recently had another one of his memorable quotes where he said to a woman on Twitter, he said, if you don't like being on his side, bleep, guess you will just have to find another famous global billionaire, and he'll find another girl who loves strong men and money. Let's see who struggles more. So what he's saying here, if you don't accept being my side, bleep, you know, then I'm just going to go find another woman like that. You as a woman, good luck finding another millionaire like me. Now, what he's saying here, as much as wretched as he is actually the truth. There are so many women now in the West. They are so, what's the word I'm looking for here, obsessed with the worship of the dunya, that they will willingly accept being degraded by a man like this just to be at the side of someone who has money and power. It's like, how far has this society fell? And it's coming to us. We are going to see Muslim women, if nothing changes, inshallah it will, we are going to see Muslim women, if we're not already, degrading themselves, lowering themselves for these same type of men in our community as well. That they are so in love with the dunya, their jewelry, the lifestyle, the fancy restaurants, and all the things that this man can offer you, that you're willing to sit there and let him degrade you like this. And he's completely right when he says that. He could go out and snap his fingers, and there would be hundreds of these women running to be next to him, and he'd be calling them names the entire time they're there, and they would stay and they would like it. And this, again, is just so unfortunate that this is where we are at right now as a community, a global community. Also, to close the chapter on him, we have another trend I've been seeing this week in social media, particularly Arab women and men are attacking Westerners who are posting curiosity tweets about Islam. I see a lot of these things in my feed. I like to keep up with the pulse. So you find what's going on is a Westerner will say, hey, wait, no one ever told me this. And they start putting some quotes from the Quran, some quotes from the Sunnah, and they're like, hey, wait a minute, this is not what I was getting from the media. This is not what I was getting from my local pastor. This Islam stuff doesn't seem that bad. I'm kind of interested in it. And immediately their feed, I don't know who these people are, where they come from. I looked a few of them up, but they just seem to pounce out of nowhere to come on and attack these people. And they're predominantly, you'll find a lot of, what is this one here? Yeah. A lot of these Arab women who are college educated are the ones that are doing these type of attacks the most. They are the fiercest. They make their careers out of this. You'll see several Arab men doing this as well, and they'll immediately be platformed by Christian apologists. If you're an Arab now and you're an atheist or you left Islam, you're almost guaranteed to be platformed and give 1,000, 2,000 immediately. Then you'll be in the hundreds of thousands of range within a month. There are several of these individuals. They work alongside, I'm not going to name their names, work alongside Christian apologists, but the females are the ones that are coming at these people the most viciously. And you find out when you look into it what's behind the attacks and motivation. Usually for the women, it's the empowerment. They see the world in the West where a woman can make a living manipulating and controlling men. They are too shallow to see that the women in this society is dying. You know, men basically are dying, women are dying, birth rates are down. This society is collapsing. It is falling apart. You know, but for these women, they see a world where they can remove their clothing. They can use their assets to rise themselves up. And the way that they attack Islam is with such disdain and anger. And you just can feel it, you know, coming through in the comments that they're making. It's really unfortunate. A lot of these new reverts are getting a kind of crash course as they're coming in immediately with some of the things that are going on. But I looked up a lot of the women that were doing this, and all of them were college educated. One of them had a PhD, was working in the university, and they're just so proud, again, to show in all the pictures, they're wearing less clothes and they're wearing clothes. Again, it's just marketing this, and this is always their desires to control men, to use their sexuality, are at the heart of all of it. Then we had one final major piece of news here, which was kind of shocking to say the least. The Saudi government had done this recently. I was not familiar with it. I found out about it this week, that they've opened the region of Hejra, also known as Medinan Salah. For those of you obviously familiar with Islamic history, familiar with the Quran, this is the people of Salah and the she-camel. These are people who were punished basically for their disobedience. We are asked to walk the areas, to weep, to understand the consequences of a society, of what happens when we go against the words and wishes of our Creator. These places were to serve as monuments to the arrogance of man, to man's resistance to the divine, to the perfect. And basically back in 1970, the Saudi Religious Council had issued a fatwa prohibiting visitation, you know, to this area. And there it is right there, right now on the screen. The Saudi Royal Council in 1970, different world back then, had banned it. But now you're seeing again what they are doing. They are opening it up to tourists, luxury hotels. And it's worse. Inside these luxury hotels, they even have like open showers where they have the women there are bathing out in public, basically in bikinis. They're walking around. It's like you're in the West. There is no difference at all. And again, the amount of disrespect to use a place where, again, Allah punished people for decadence, for disobedience. This is the highest form of disrespect. This is what's going on day to day now in that country. They are mocking Allah. They are mocking the commands of His messenger. They don't care. They feel they have more money now. They can do whatever they want. I mean, why choose this place? It's very symbolic. They are making a statement here. Yes, we're mocking God as well. We are mocking Allah, and we don't care. And we are going to continue to do it. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's judgment will come on them sooner rather than later. So that's some facts that I came across this week that I wanted to open up with. Now, as I mentioned last week, we're going to do a little bit new format. We're going to have some discussions and questions. So we're going to spend the next half of our program talking about things that you guys are interested in and you want to talk about. If I feel I'm knowledgeable in the topic, I will explain as much as I can, and we'll have a two-way, discussion. Other people obviously welcome to come in, chime in with comments. So Sister Layla.